to start this off by asking you all, what makes you happy? If we could just go around the room, you guys can tell me like one thing that makes you happy. And then we'll go from there. How about you? What makes you happy?
In terms of spirituality, Lord Krishna, of course. In terms of day-to-day material life, my partner.
What is it?
My partner, Taylor.
Your partner?
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. All right, how about you? Just
Krishna, cats, and family, in that order.
Krishna?
Cats and family, in that order.
What was the middle one?
Cat.
Cat. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. All right. So let's see. Hold on. I'm going to Krishna, cat. Oh, we got 2 for the cats. All right. All right. Okay, 3 for the cats. I'll get down on the cat too. Yeah. I will. How about you, Ron?
There's the fourth one.
Devotion to family. I'm sorry, devotion to God, family, and community.
Okay.
Cats. And cats. Cool cats.
How about you, Blaine?
Nature and dogs.
Nature and dogs. Yeah, nice. Rishi.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. Oh, yes. I second that. Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Robert?
Breath.
What was it?
Breath.
Breath? Okay, that's good. How about you, Prabhu?
Worshiping the deity, Krishna, quality devotee association,
Yeah.
and I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, no, that's too bad. Yeah, I know it's a little bit of your deity worship because sometimes we talk about that a lot. So I'm with you on that. Although the allergic to cats, I don't know, Prabhu. How about you, Gaurasundar Prabhu? Do you have something that makes you happy?
I'm always happy.
You're always happy. All right, good. How about you, Kirtaneshwar?
Makes me happy is making others happy.
All right. Yeah, I can see that about you. I see that in your daily, everything that you do every day. Did you sing a Prabhu? Huh? Paneer, yes. All right. All right, very good. I second that also.
I'm going to steal Nara Hari's Quality Association.
Quality Association. Very good. All right. Jamuna. Krishna. Prasadam. And what was the last one? Devotees? And sweets. Yeah, very nice.
Just being devoted to Krishna and knowing that everything comes from Krishna, feeling the happiness from chanting, japa, meditating.
Yeah.
And seeing that manifest.
Very nice. Meg. Cats, we know cats.
Love of Krishna, love for each other.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Vanessa.
What was the question?
What makes you happy?
Yeah, definitely the devotees, my son, all the temporary, and also eating. Yeah.
Eating, yeah. I'm with you. All right. Want to go first? You better be saying
Japa.
your wife. No, I'm just kidding. Chanting japa?
Painting.
Painting and chanting japa, nice. All right. And you better be saying your husband. No, I'm just kidding.
Definitely Krishna, reading about Krishna, all his pastimes makes me super happy. Reading the Gita makes me super happy, and making prasad from an hour.
All right. That's great. So I'm so happy to hear all these different ways that people, the things that make them happy. And so right now, despite what the news would have you believe, is actually a really good time to be alive, right? So we have better nutrition and food security than we've had you know, in throughout history. We have like medical advances like antibiotics, vaccines, surgical techniques. You know, when I was 15, I broke both legs and my back in a motorcycle accident, and they fixed me up at the University Hospital here in Tucson. And I could only imagine, you know, if I had sustained those injuries, you know, 100 years ago, I mean, I would be permanently disabled if I survived, right? You know, so we also have medicines that can cure or treat diseases. You know, like 50 years ago, or even, I mean, really only 25 years ago, the diseases like hepatitis C, right? Hepatitis C is a liver disease. It's a communicable liver disease, and it's deadly. But now there's a medication to treat that and cure it, just completely cure it, right? Look at HIV, right? HIV about 30 years ago was a pretty severe thing. I mean, it was very terrible. Now, people that have HIV are dying from old age, right? And they never even develop AIDS, and that's because there's a treatment for it, right? We have lower maternal death rates, right, when they're giving childbirth. We have lower infant mortality rates. So just right now, the global infant mortality rate is only about 2 or 3% of a child dying before they reach the age of 1 year old. About 100 years ago, that was 10 to 15%. And then about 300 years ago, it was up to 40% of children did not live past their first birthday, right? So we have a longer life expectancy. There's less slavery and oppression. So women in the US were not even allowed to have their own credit card until 1974, right? They had to have permission from their husband or their father, and then have a male co-signer. That was either their husband, their father, or their brother. That was 1974. That was not too long ago. So there's more human rights protections right now than there are in any other time in history. There's historically high literacy rates, right? We have access to education. We have technology to help us save time and be more comfortable. We have electricity, we have running water, we have refrigeration, we have heating and cooling, we have instant communication across the world. We have safe and fast transportation. We have safer working conditions, right? I mean, I've seen some really horrific pictures of workers in the past, right? Working with in factories and heavy machinery, right? They would have children working sometimes, right? A lot of times. So we have child labor laws. We have a reduction in extreme poverty across the globe, right? Even in the not too distant past in this country, right? There was extreme poverty where people were literally starving, right? But we don't really see that much anymore, especially in the US. And then we have relative world peace. I mean, yes, there's always conflicts going on, people are getting hurt, but in terms of like sheer percentage of the population of people dying in war is just much less, right? So with all these advances, we should be pretty happy, right? I mean, you'd think so. But actually, by many measures, we're quite unhappy. Like right now, there's what the news is calling an epidemic of loneliness, right? More than half of US adults are reporting that they have feelings of loneliness very often, right? And this can have a very bad effect on health. I was reading a little bit about this. It said the effects on your health is similar to as if you were smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day, right? Just from being lonely. That's the same kind of effects. Prescriptions for antidepressants are skyrocketing. Rates of mental illness are soaring, right? People are just constantly distracted and overstimulated, right? There's so much trouble people, they cannot concentrate on anything, right? The rates of attention deficit disorder are crazy right now. And so also our family bonds are weakened, right? We don't have that generational interplay in a lot of families, right? And that support. There's divorce, there's single parents. In the past, families would live in multi-generational households, right? And we don't really do that so much anymore, not as much as in the past. Our environment's becoming degraded, right? There's so much pollution. And then consumerism, right? There's fast fashion, right? They say the landfills are just filling up with, polyester clothing that's going to take forever to decompose. And why? Because we're caught up in this consumeristic mindset, right? Where we're just consuming everything. We have health issues like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, suicide, substance abuse. These are all things. And most importantly, we have a loss of spiritual connection and practice, right? And so all these are signs of a society that's very unhappy, right? So let's take a look. So why is it that we're so unhappy, right? So let's take a look. Has anyone heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah, okay, right. So for those of you that don't know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory that human motivations organized into 5 basic needs. It forms a hierarchy, right, from basic physiological requirements all the way up to self-actualization, or as we might call it, self-realization, right? So there's 5 levels to this. So let's go through the 5 levels. There's your physiological needs. So this is your basic needs that need to be met before you can really think about the next level. And so this is food, water, shelter, clothing, breathing, air, If you can't breathe, you're not going to really be thinking about, becoming self-realized, right? You're going to be thinking about how can I breathe better? So then there's the next tier is safety needs. So this is your safety, security, stability. This can include your personal safety. This can include financial security and just protection from harm in general. The next level is love and belonging, right? We all want to feel loved. We all want to love. We want to feel like we belong. And this is our need for social interaction, including friendship, intimacy, family. And then the next level is our esteem needs. So this includes our desire for self-respect, status, our desire to have some status, some recognition, a sense of accomplishment, right? That's very important, right? For us to feel like we've accomplished something. And then finally, self-actualization needs, that's what they call it. And so this involves realizing your full potential, right? Personal growth and achieving goals. So this highest need, that's what we're teaching here at ISKCON Tucson, right? And this would be very hard for people that, say we're trying to get one of the homeless people that are out on the street, right? They're suffering from drug addiction, they're suffering from mental illness, they're suffering from being homeless, all kinds of insecurity. If we try to bring them in here and try to teach them about self-realization, it's really not going to be that effective, because first, they want to make sure that they have food to eat, they want to make sure they have a place to live, right? Before they can really concentrate on learning about self-realization. So what else would you need to be happy? So a lot of people think they need to be like their most authentic selves, right? A lot of people value that authenticity. They need connection to something greater than themselves. And they need purpose. And then, of course, intimacy and connection with others, which we talked about before. And then sometimes people feel like they need a sense of control, over their life of some sort, right? Some kind of sense of control. And then also, a lot of people are very concerned with status. So sometimes we think what will make us happy. Sometimes we think that something will make us happy. And then when we get it, it doesn't actually make us happy. And so, has this ever happened to any of you? Where you thought, yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about, no? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So when I was, this is a long time ago, but I was like, oh, if I have X amount of money in my bank account, I'm gonna be happy. I'm
Yeah.
gonna feel safe. I'm gonna feel secure. And then it happened, and then I was like, oh, I still feel like terrible. So I was like, maybe I need another like 10 grand in there. And so
Yeah.
I got that, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm really, really happy. No, it lasted about 2 days. And then I'm like, okay, so it's not this. So you continue to look for something to fill that hole that we all really are looking for.
Yeah.
And it's not in this world.
Yeah, and that's because as humans, we're very adaptable. That's one thing that's really great about us, that allows us to survive in all sorts of situations. We're very adaptable, but then it also has an effect like what you're describing, where okay, we've reached our goal. We're happy maybe for a little bit, or maybe not even at all. But even if we're happy for a little bit, then we get used to it, right? Because we've adapted to that new set of that new scenario. So. How about anyone else? Has that happened to you? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
thought eating a lot of cake would make me happy. And then I'd be like, I don't know, it's okay, do better next time.
So that doesn't work? Because I still believe
I
that.
mean, it's like a temporary relief. Like as you're eating it, it's like, wow, and then you're like, not after you're done.
Yeah. All right. Kirtaneshwar Guranga.
When I was a child, I was under the impression that the more guitars I had, the more I'd be happy.
Yeah.
And I was right.
Yeah. All right, we heard it here first. More guitars.
For me, I'd say mine was just a few years ago when I was in my younger 20s. I thought that chasing young women and trying to control love and force love was going to bring me happiness, but
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah, that's a super common one. That was that happened to me briefly. I years ago. Those of you that was in my class, I think last week for Bhagavatam class, heard this story, but or no, someone else listened. Anyway, I used to work at a gas station, and every day this very handsome paramedic, he would come in every day, and I thought, oh boy, he's very handsome. I really like him so much, and then finally one day, I thought, oh, if I could get a date with him, that would be really nice. So finally one day he asked me out on a date, and I thought, oh, wow, this is great. I was so happy, and we went for a walk by the river, and it was terrible. It was terrible. He was telling me these horrible stories about how he was mean to sick children in the ambulance, and threatening them so they would behave. And I'm thinking, like, these are sick children. Why would you do that? And so it was horrible. And I mean, it was just completely illusion shattered, right? I was like, wow, this guy is not the one for me, no. So, all right, anybody else? Anyone else? No? Okay, so yeah, so we all have some experiences of things that we thought would make us happy, but they didn't, right? Okay, so what is happiness? What makes people happy? So there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln, which I was Googling it earlier today to make sure that it was indeed an Abraham Lincoln quote, because I've used it for many years, like for decades. I've always loved this quote. And so they said it's often attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but there's no actual proof that he said it. But it's still a good quote. And it says, people are as happy as they make up their minds to be, right? So So this quote, I really like it because, well, one, it kind of implies that we have some control over our level of happiness, right? And this is actually true. We do. How we choose to react to things or not react to things has a profound effect on our happiness. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed." So actually, happiness and distress, Krishna is telling us that it's going to come of its own accord. If we're distressed and we wait a little bit, soon we'll be happy. But then also, remember, if we're happy, just wait a little bit and then we'll be distressed, right? But actually, we can actually have true lasting happiness by understanding our true constitutional position. Because we're actually Sat Chit Ananda. What does that mean?
Eternal, blissful knowledge.
Yeah, eternal knowledge and blissful, yeah. So Sat Chit Ananda means that we are eternal, we are full of knowledge, and we are blissful. And so you might be sitting there thinking, well, I don't feel very full of knowledge or very full of bliss, or, but it's true. It's just that we're covered over by layers of illusion that's making us not recognize that we're actually eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. So we're eternally parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and we need to revive our original consciousness and our original relationship with the Supreme Lord. And this is what will truly make us happy. Nice to see you, Robert. Hare Krishna. So actually, Krishna consciousness can make us happy. Krishna can actually meet all of our needs so that we can be happy. So Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful, right? He becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. And in that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Yeah. So, I mean, if you were never lamenting and you never desired anything, do you think you would be happy? You were never lamenting? No? Okay. Tough crowd. All right. Well, I personally think if I was not lamenting for anything and I wasn't desiring anything, I would be much happier, right? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, another one of our texts, in the first canto, it says, the supreme occupation or dharma for all of humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Now, when's the last time you were completely satisfied with anything? Can you think? Yeah, go ahead.
These past couple of weeks.
These past couple of weeks. All right, great. Right. Yeah, well,
Every moment has been blissful.
When I had prasadam.
when you had prasadam. Okay, these are all great answers.
I just want to add really quick because it's interesting
Yeah.
to tie it back to emotional hierarchy of needs. So 10 years ago, Harvard University did a study against the theory of Maslow, and they actually added the self-actualization survey.
Serving.
So if you
Yeah.
serve, you can actually fulfill that desire.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, and this is what Krishna is telling us too, right? He's telling us in this verse to satisfy the self, right? We should be doing devotional service, right? So I mean, exactly.
Science proves this.
Huh?
Science proves it.
Yeah, science proves it, and Krishna already told us. Did you just want to say something?
Like, we're always serving, right? And like, it's It's like, and that's the object of service.
Yeah.
Because then we always want reciprocation, you know, so if nothing satisfies us, so until we serve God, then we're always satisfied.
Yeah.
It says, person not fully joyful.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if I'm serving, you know, if I'm serving some boss over at Circle K, am I going to be fully joyful? No.
Never.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You'd be surprised if you got paid.
Yeah, no, if K stands for Krishna, yeah. That's funny because in my notes, you know, you write Krishna so much in your notes when you're making notes for these classes, and that's actually my shorthand for Krishna is K with a circle. So. Yes.
I just had a little bit of an epiphany in this moment. What if we were to do our educational services around some Circle K's once a week? Because there's so many people who need help. Who
Yeah.
stand around Circle K's.
Yeah, they do.
Steve was doing that for a while.
Yeah. I'm reminded of the time when you and I went with the cake. Remember that Kirtani Shortranga? We took there was some leftover cake from the restaurant, some prasadam cake, and we took it up to the Circle K right up there, and we're giving it out, and everybody was so excited. It was so nice, you know. And so we were giving them prasadam, you know, and they didn't know that though. They just thought, oh, cake, free cake.
Like free cake.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. I mean, when's the last time you were completely satisfied with anything that wasn't these spiritual things, right? I mean, I can't recall the time.
If it's material, it's hard to find satisfaction.
Yeah.
At all.
Right?
It's only temporary satisfaction.
Yeah.
It may be for a day, maybe for 2 days. Sometimes in some situations, maybe a couple months, but it quickly wears on.
Yeah, it wears off. Yeah, I don't know if anybody here played that video game, The Sims.
Yeah.
But like The Sims, it's where you basically kind of are playing God. You get to control all these people. You can make a character however you want. You can control them, and they do different things. You know, just living like a regular life. You know, but every time you would give them something new, the Sim would start to sparkle. They would sparkle, and they would be happy. But it would wear off after a while, right? Because the new thing was not satisfying. And so sometimes I think about that when I get something new, and I'm like, oh wow, you know, I really like these shoes or something. You know, I feel it sparkling, but it's going to wear off. Okay, so in the 6th canto, it says, devotees solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So could you imagine that, being fearless, right? It doesn't matter if you're in hell or if you're in heaven. You're just happy to be doing service, right? That seems like kind of a novel concept, right? Because for so many of us, you know, you get upset if it gets a little bit hot or a little bit cold, right? You're just like, oh, I can't bear it, right? You know. So yeah, I mean, to be fearless, that would help for our happiness. Now, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter, he says, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. Everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Right? So, yeah, and so this knowledge that he's talking about is this concept of serving Krishna, doing devotional service, right? And I mean, it's joyfully performed and everlasting. So, sounds like a good deal to me. So Krishna can meet all of our needs. So let's go back to those 5 categories for that Maslow's hierarchy had. So let's, the first one was your basic needs, you know, food, water, shelter. So Krishna is God, right? He can and he does provide us with all of our daily needs. But if you want some verification, Krishna says in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but those who have always worshipped me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Right? So Krishna is going to preserve the things that we do have, and what we don't have, he's going to make sure that we can get by with that he's going to help us carry that, right? So there you go. I mean, that's verification right there that Krishna is going to help us with our basic needs, right? Okay, the number 2 was safety, right? So Krishna says in the 18th chapter, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear, right? So that's, if you're a spiritual person, right, that's like probably your biggest fear is sinful reactions, right? If you do something wrong, what's going to happen. But Krishna, by surrendering unto him, he's going to deliver us from all those sinful reactions. That also means our karma, right? Our bad karma, right? So, okay. The third one was love and belonging. So this one's really interesting. This society of devotees, ISKCON, was made so that we can have loving relationships with one another and also with Krishna. And so the 6 loving exchanges are something that is practiced between the devotees, right, to express our love and care for one another. And so, does anyone know what those are? The 6 loving exchanges? Do you know?
A few of them. I think gift giving and like offering the prasadam, revealing your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the opposite, so there's giving gifts and accepting gifts, right? Revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially, offering prasadam and accepting prasadam, right? And so these are the 6 loving exchanges that devotees do. But in the 9th canto, Krishna says, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. All right, so number 4 was your esteem needs, your status, right? And what better status can you have than being part and parcel of Krishna, of God himself, right? You are part and parcel of God himself. But still, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. And due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. But he says that we're his eternal fragmental parts. Now, I can't think of a higher status than that, right? I mean, I'm not just, a president or a king or whatever. No, I'm part and parcel of God himself, right? Now, also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said, it is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is is energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. Like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire, Krishna has 3 varieties of energy. So that, again, is confirming that we are one with and different from the Lord. So we are the same in that we're part and parcel of the Lord, but we're different because we're not God, right? And also our constitutional position is to be a servant of Krishna, right? So if we're going to be servant of somebody, I mean, why not be a servant of God instead of the manager at Circle K, right? Or wherever, where do you work? Panera still?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, much better to be a servant of Krishna, right? So, and by working there, you're actually, helping to raise your family, right? Support your family and raise Krishna conscious children. So in that way, you are serving Krishna by serving that manager over there.
It's also feeding the community.
And feeding. Okay.
And he distributes books there.
Yeah. So there,
I'm
look
one of
at
the
this.
recipients.
And that's because you're actually a servant of Krishna.
And the customers are like, what's that on your face? And I get to tell them about Krishna.
Yeah,
You were too out to work?
Every day.
Every day, yeah.
that's great. Wow. See, very good.
Once I start showing up like that, they're gonna be like, what are you doing?
They're gonna be like, oh no, it's funny.
They're gonna bring us both in the office and be like, all right, is this gonna stop here or we're gonna talk about it?
And then you just bring out the tilak and say, no, I thought we put it on you today.
Join us, Frank.
All right. And so the fifth one was self-actualization, or reaching your full potential, achieving your goals. And so in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection, right? So the highest perfection is, that's the ultimate goal, right? To attain the highest perfection. There's no goal higher than that, right? And also, that he also tells us we're never going to return to this temporary world, right? We're going to be with him in the spiritual world. And then in the 18th chapter, Krishna says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So not only will we come to Krishna, but he's our very dear friend. What is higher than that to say, God is my very dear friend. Krishna is my very dear friend. All right. And then in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, in the story of Lord Vrishabhadev, Lord Vrishabhadev is teaching his sons. And this is what he says. He says, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. And when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness, which continues forever. All right, so there's kind of a lot in that verse. One, we should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is what the vast majority of people on the planet are doing, right? They're working hard day and night, and they're doing it to satisfy their senses, but sometimes they're working so hard that they don't even get to satisfy their senses, right? They're working so hard that, for what? So they buy this nice big house and they have all these things, but they're always at work. They can't ever enjoy it, right? That doesn't make any sense, at least not to me. And then when we attain this position, though, when we attain the position as a servant of Krishna, we attain eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and continues forever, right? Because like you were saying, our happiness here is fleeting, right? We'll be happy with something for a little bit, and then it kind of wears off. Or like when you got your bank account to where you wanted it to go. Sometimes people are motivated by negative things too, like revenge, right? And even that is not satisfying. I knew somebody who had been a victim of a crime, a really, really heinous crime, and the perpetrator was being executed, and one of the victims said, "Oh, I can't wait till that." They said some very choice words, "Till that guy is dead," And so then when that guy was executed, they turned to me and looked at me and said, I thought I would feel better, but I don't. I just feel worse. Yeah. I mean, so even revenge is not satisfying. So, yeah. But if we get this position of devotional service, we have that happiness that's eternal and blissful forever. So, okay. So now I want to tell some stories about some people who wanted something that they thought would make them happy. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
So tonight for prasadam, because the team that cleans here, we kind of said with us, we stay super late, so we're gonna make the plates and ask a few questions, and after everything's concluded, we can all take outside. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah. Is it ready now?
Yeah, we're making the plates, and then when you can keep going, when everything's ready, we'll serve out.
Okay.
We'll serve out outside.
Okay, just how long do you need?
We'll be done in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, that's up to you.
No, I'll probably be done then too. Okay, so I want to tell a couple stories about some people who they thought they wanted something. They thought it was going to make them happy. And let's see how that worked out for them. Okay, so the first story, and I apologize if you've been to a lot of my classes over the years, because I like to tell these two stories a lot. So maybe you've heard them before, but they're my favorites. So the first one is King Chitraketu. So does any of you know that story? King Chitraketu, you do. Okay, good. Yeah. So King Chitraketu, he was, he was a great king, and he actually was married to 10 million wives. This was a different time, okay? so he had.
That's the most I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I've studied like the Bible and things too, and
Yeah.
the most I've ever heard in the Bible was like tens of thousands.
Yeah. He was very skilled at finding wives, I guess. Yeah, I mean, most people I know can't even handle one. So, I mean, 10 million, trying to keep 10 million ladies happy, I don't know. I just don't know. And then as luck would have it, all of his wives actually were barren. They were not able to have any children. And he's a king. And so, for a king, it's very important for them to have a successor, right? I mean, even in not so far back, like King Henry VIII, right, of England, he was so consumed with getting an heir that he actually went through how many wives? I think it was like 5 or 6, and even beheaded a few of them, right, to be able to move on to the next one, so he could produce an heir. And he actually was not successful. He wanted a male heir. He did produce a male heir, but that child then died before he reached adulthood. So then his heir ended up being Queen Elizabeth, who was like one of the greatest monarchs of history in England. But at the time, when he had her, he didn't care because she was a girl. That wasn't really done at that time, that women could succeed the throne. So anyway, so he had 10 million barren wives. I don't know how that could possibly be true, that all of them were barren, but that is some bad luck, So he's very upset about this. He can't have a son. And one day this sage came to visit him. His name was Angira. And the sage said to him, he could kind of see what the problem was. But the sage said, look, I can give you a boon, because sages were able to give people, a boon. And, he said, let me give you a boon. But what is it that you need? And of course, he said, I need a son. I want to have a son. So the sage had a big sacrifice, and he was sacrificing all things into the fire. And there was some remnants of foodstuffs from the sacrifice. And he said, okay, if you feed these remnants to your wife, then she will become pregnant. So, so he did that. He gave it to his wife, one of his wives. She ate the remnants. And then the sage told him, "O great king, now you will have a son who will be the cause of both jubilation and lamentation." So then the sage left. So what ended up happening was his wife became pregnant. She had a son, and of course the king's overjoyed. He's so happy. Finally, he has his heir. I mean, he's been trying for so long. He finally has his heir. And so naturally, he's spending more time with his son. He's spending all kinds of time with his son, and also with that wife that was the mother of that son. So now the other wives started becoming a little bit jealous because he's spending so much time with this other wife because she was the mother of his son, and these other wives became quite jealous. And so what they actually did was really horrible. They poisoned the son. They poisoned him, right? And so he died. Yeah. And so the king and his queen were just lamenting. I mean, so hard. I mean, he fell to the ground unconscious. The queen fell to the ground unconscious. She's in complete disarray because she's just so distraught. She lost her son, right? All the inhabitants of the palace are just crying now because they're seeing how upset the king and the queen are, right? And they're all crying. Even the ladies that poisoned the little boy, they're also crying, right? Because it's just such a sad scene. I mean, if you read this part in the Bhagavatam, it's heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching. I was going to read it, but I don't know that we necessarily have time. And so, yeah, I mean, just heart-wrenching. So they're just completely, just in so much grief. So after a little while, the sage that originally gave him the boon comes back, and he also brings with him Narada Muni. And this is what he says. He says, "My dear king, now you are actually experiencing the misery of a person who has sons and daughters. O king, owner of the states of Shurasingh, one's wife, his house, the opulence of his kingdom, and his various other opulences and objects of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. One's kingdom, military power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. They are like a Gandharva Nagar, a non-existent palace that one imagines to exist in the forest. Because they are impermanent, they are no better than illusions, dreams, and mental concoctions. Therefore, O King Chitraketu, carefully consider the position of the Atma. In other words, try to understand who you are, whether the body, mind, or soul. Consider where you have come from, where you are going after giving up this body, and why you are under the control of material lamentation. Try to understand your real position in this way, and then you will be able to give up your unnecessary attachment. You will also be able to give up the belief that this material world, or anything not directly in touch with service to Krishna, is eternal. Thus, you will obtain peace." So the sage is instructing him. Now, something really amazing happened. By the power, the sages have great power, right? And so they're actually able to bring the son back from the dead. Okay, so they're actually able to bring him back from the dead. So this is, let's read a little bit about that. By the mystic power of Narada Muni, the living entity re-entered his dead body for a short time and spoke in reply to Narada Muni's request. He said, "According to the results of my fruitive activities," this is the son now. The son has come back from the dead, and he says, "According to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living being, transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of the demigods, sometimes to the species of lower animals, and sometimes among the vegetables, and sometimes to the human species. Therefore, in which birth were these my mother and father?" No one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these two people as my parents? I mean, could you imagine that? Your child just died. Shri Shri Gornita Ki Jai. So yeah, could you imagine that your son just dies, he's killed, you're completely lamenting, some sages come by, bring him back to life, and then he says to you, he says, in what life were these two my mother and father? I mean, ouch, talk about knife through the heart, right?
You're not my dad.
Yeah, yeah. So his son continues, even though one living entity becomes connected with another because of a relationship based on bodies that are perishable, the living entity is eternal. And actually, it is the body that is born or lost, not the living entity. One should not accept that the living entity takes birth or dies. The living being actually has no relationship with so-called fathers and mothers, as long as he appears as the son of a certain father and mother as a result of his past fruitive activities. He has a connection with the body given by that father and mother. Thus he falsely accepts himself as their son and acts affectionately. After he dies, however, the relationship is finished. Under these circumstances, one should not be falsely involved with jubilation and lamentation. So now the narrator of this story, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, continues, when the conditioned soul, the jiva, in the form of Maharaj Chitraketu's son had spoken in this way and then left, Chitraketu and the other relatives of the dead son were all astonished. And thus they cut off the shackles of their affection, which was due to their relationship with him, and they gave up their lamentation. So King Chitraketu actually went on to be a great devotee, but he was able to realize the truth of what his son was speaking, even as harsh as it sounds, right? So that's one story of someone who really wanted something, but then he got it, and it didn't turn out the way he had hoped, right? Although it did turn out good for him because he ended up becoming a great devotee. So I have one more story and then we'll end. I'll try to make this one kind of quick so we can get to the prasadam. So this is about Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva is, did anyone know about Dhruva? I know you do. Yeah, all right. So Dhruva was a little boy. He was about 5 years old, and his father was a king. And his father had several wives. And so the mother of Dhruva was not the favorite wife. The other wife was the favorite wife. And so one day he saw his half-brother sitting on the lap of his father, the king. And he wanted to sit on his father's lap, so he tried to sit on his father's lap. And his stepmother said, "You cannot sit on the lap of your father. Although you are his son, you are disqualified because you did not take birth from my womb." I mean, what a jerk, right? Could you imagine that? Your stepmother telling you that? I mean, to a 5-year-old little boy. Ridiculous. So Dhruva looked to his father, the king, for help. And his father, he was kind of henpecked, right? He was no help at all. He didn't want to upset his favorite wife. So his stepmother said to him, "If you want to sit on your father's lap, you must first worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by penances and austerities, and then in your next life, you can take birth from my womb. Then it may be possible." I mean, wow. Just what? Talk about evil stepmom, right? So what the queen said was true. At least that's what Dhruva went back to his mother and told her what happened. And his mother told him, what the queen said is true. You must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then it might be possible for you to sit on that throne. But really, she felt terrible for her son, but she was telling him, I mean, she's right. You just have to worship God. There's nothing that she can't, fix it for him. And she told him, do not wish inauspicious things on others, or you will bear the reaction for that. Because of course, Dhruva, was not feeling very warmly towards his stepmother after her saying those things. So Dhruva said, who must I see? What must I do? He wanted to have a kingdom that was greater than his grandfather's, greater than his father's. And he said, who must I see? He demanded. What must I do to get the kingdom? In a passionate mood, he was ready to do anything to get what he wanted. But because he's just a little boy, his mother told him, you must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he said, where is he? Where is God? His mother replied that she only knew that saintly persons go out to the forest. They go out to the forest and when, that's all she knew. So Dhruva, 5 years old, went out to the forest by himself. And he's out there in the forest and he's inquiring to all the beasts, are you God? Are you God? He's traversing the jungle and he's searching. And the only way he understood, he's interrogating all the creatures of the forest. Are you God? Finally, he ran into Narada Muni, who's a great sage. And Narada Muni actually became his spiritual teacher. And he told him, go home. Don't take this seriously. You're just a little boy. Just forget it. Just go home. Now, Dhruva, he wasn't hearing that. He was like, no. He insisted that he must see God because he wanted to get a kingdom that he deserved, right? He said he wanted a kingdom greater than his father or his grandfather's kingdom. Now, let me tell you something. His grandfather was Lord Brahma, who actually created the whole universe. So that's a big ask, okay? It's a big ask. It's not just, some little kingdom. So Narada realized, okay, this kid's not going to be swayed by me telling him to go home, forget about it. So he instructed him in the Eightfold Path of Yoga, which is very difficult, and it's virtually impossible to do today. It's like sitting postures, breath control, all kinds of things. And so this is what Dhruva did. So for the first month, he ate fruits and berries every third day. For the second month, he only ate dry grass and leaves every 6 days. For the third month, he only had water every 9 days. For the fourth month, he only took a breath every 12th day. I mean, these are severe austerities that, I don't think anybody in this room could do. At least I know I can't. And then on the 5th day, he just stood on one leg on the 5th month. And then for the 6th month, he actually stopped all breathing altogether. So these are the austerities that he did. I mean, these are pretty severe. Like I can't even do one of these, right? So all the while he's doing this, he's actually seeing the Lord in his heart. He's meditating on the Lord in his heart. And then suddenly in his meditation, the Lord disappears. Dhruva, he's very disturbed by this, so he comes out of his meditation, he opens his eyes, and what do you know? Actually, the Lord is standing there right in front of him. And so Dhruva is like dumbfounded. He doesn't know what to say, and so he's just kind of not saying anything. So the Lord he's holding his conch shell, and the Lord just kind of bonks him a little lightly on the head. And suddenly now Dhruva is able to speak, and he's able to say all these beautiful prayers, just beautiful prayers to the Lord. And so he says something to the effect, he says, I came into this forest just looking for pieces of broken glass, but instead I have found a great jewel in you, my dear Lord. And now I am completely satisfied and I don't want anything. So he's comparing the desire for that kingdom greater than his father's and his grandfather's as to just pieces of broken glass. But now that he's seen the Lord face to face, those are like true gems, real jewels. And so the Lord actually fulfilled his material desire and gave him the pole star, which is actually a planet that is not destroyed when the material creation is destroyed. And so he gave him the pole star to rule, and Dhruva ruled that. But first he went back home, and he ruled his father's kingdom for 36,000 years. So you can, yeah, I mean, that's a long time. And then finally, at the end of his life, the messengers of the Lord came to get Dhruva on their flower airplane. And this is such a great scene in the Bhagavatam. As Dhruva was being liberated and taken to the spiritual world to rule over the pole star, Death personified appeared. And it's described how Dhruva actually just stepped on the head of Death personified to climb into the flower airplane. I mean, what a cool scene is that? I mean, he conquered death by his devotion, right? And so at that moment, Dhruva remembers his mother, and he's like, wait, I can't leave without her. And the messengers of the Lord assured him, don't worry, your mother, she's following in another flower airplane. She's right behind us. And so, yeah, I mean, so Dhruva, he wanted that kingdom, and he got it. But by the time he got it, he didn't even want it, right? Because he had seen the Lord face to face, and that was so much better. And so Krishna wants us to give us what we want. He wants us to be happy, but we can only be happy truly by serving him. And so I think we'll end there. If anybody has any comments or questions or refutations or whatever, just, yeah, please.
I hope through the rest of my lifetime I could become a true devotee, and near the end of my lifetime, after I've done everything I need to do in my career and in my material life, it's all settled and put away. Hopefully in the late 40s, early 50s, I can begin that true journey.
Yeah, Jai, very
This
nice.
has done nothing but benefit me. This whole journey, like it started weeks ago, and it's been nothing but positivity and just more than enough in my life, more than enough abundance, everything I need, everything I want, and then some. Every day I wake up, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what's so wonderful. I mean, when you water that root, which is serving the Lord, who's the root of everything, right? When you do that, everything else is nourished, right? So, very nice. All right, yeah, Vanessa.
I just want to comment on Dhruva, because it's such a great pastime. You know, he's the son of this king, and it's basically not like disowned, but terribly dishonored. You know?
Yeah.
And his mother too. And so he's like, you know, I'm going to go do this with incredible austerities. And at the end of that, you know, Narada, you know, coming to meet him, seeing the form of the Lord in front of him, he actually becomes the son of the king.
Yeah.
And he goes from not being able to sit on his father's lap to being able to like push the earth halfway down with his big toe. And that's like, I don't know, that's such a big part of that pastime.
Yeah, that's like one of my, I mean, it's probably my favorite pastime.
But that's what devotional service can do.
Yeah, and also one moral of that story is too, is that a child, just by becoming a devotee, can actually liberate his family as also, you know, like his mother, he liberated her, she got taken up only because he did devotional service.
Maharaj, by giving everything to today's vulnerable experience.
Yeah.
Like giving, his mother actually prayed, like, when they were, you know, that her sons would have these beautiful kingdoms, or, you know, lots of opulence, but he, having that as an adult, as a king, willingly gives it away and then gets it back because he gave it to the Lord and gets it back. So it's not by means of, like, you know, material desire, it's by means of devotional service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's have some prasadam. I did find that there was a study that came out in the 2025 report on happiness that said that sharing meals with people is highly correlated with happiness, and that the peak, like, ultimate number for this greatest happiness is to share like 13 meals per week with other people. So yeah, so we can all share a meal now, and that will improve our happiness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.